Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all here in this session at TNV Academy. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our eminent speaker, Mr. Anil Yadav, today from Lucknow, India, who is going to talk to us about how to conduct internal audit in respect to ISO standards. This is a topic in which we should all be deeply interested, as internal audit is a very essential requirement of every standard. So it is very important to know how to conduct an effective internal audit. In this webinar today, Mr. Anil will discuss this topic in detail, along with some real life examples he has experienced in the industry. Our distinguished speaker, Mr. Anil Yadav, has done his engineering in electrical and electronics stream from Gautam Buddha Technical University, India. He is also a lead auditor in 9001, 14001, 27001, and 45001 standards. He has an industrial experience of around 5 years in training and auditing of sectors such as manufacturing, production, construction, and information technology. He has been imparting training to a number of organizations, entrepreneurs, and individuals on various topics related to ISO terminologies, their certification, and implementation. It was just a brief introduction of our guest speaker today. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Anil Yadav. I may request Mr. Anil Yadav now to please start the session on how to conduct an internal audit.
Thanks, Mr. Apur, for the wonderful introduction. It is a great pleasure to be here again with you all, and I thank TNB Academy for giving me this wonderful opportunity again to share my view and insight on today's topic. As just stated by Mr. Apur, the topic of discussion today is how to conduct internal audit with an organization. Before we move forward and understand the whole concept of conducting internal audit with an organization, let us take baby step first and learn how many types of audit are there, and then the basic definition of internal audit in respect to management system standard. Types of internal audit. There are basically three types of audit when we talk about ISO standard, namely first party audit, which is done within the organization by its employees. Second party audit done by vendors or suppliers to check and organization process and procedures. And the last one is third party audit done by certification body lead auditors, usually to grant and ISO standard certification to an organization. Now, what do we mean by internal audit? Internal audit refer to an independent service to evaluate an organization internal controls, its corporate practices, process, and methods. An internal audit help in securing compliance with the various law applicable to an organization. An organization can prepare its account and records as per the applicable legal requirements and reporting. The purpose of internal audit is to check the effectiveness and operational standards framed by organization. An organization may have a set of rules for operation, and internal audit also helps in knowing whether the employee follow the internal operational standards. An internal audit helps in identifying problems or inefficiencies and taking necessary corrective steps. Internal audit can identify any fraud by employees such as embezzlement of funds. The audit can also identify whether there are deliberate costs and overruns, whether a particular vendor is getting preference over the other low cost suppliers. There may be a need to identify employee rotation between different roles and functions. An internal audit can check any potential threat or sorry. Internal audit can identify any frauds of employees such as embezzlement of funds. The audit can identify whether there are deliberate cost overruns, whether a particular vendor is getting preference over the low cost supplier. There may be a need to identify employee rotation between different roles and functions. An internal audit can check any potential threats or financial losses. An organization can plug in financial leakage. The process enables the identification and correction of a lapse in procedure before the statutory audit. In audit, in internal audit can be on annual basis or monthly or quarterly basis. It is depend on the organization scope as per their complexity. The choice depends on the need of the organization. In certain cases, a company should mandatorily appoint an internal audit, such as under the Company Act 2013. There are different types of assessment or analysis techniques. An internal auditor may adopt for performing an internal audit. An internal audit can ensure that an organization can secure timely compliance with law and regulations. The audit provides a degree of safety and helps manage the risk emerging from fraud, abuse of power, or any other scenarios. An internal auditor provides the management with their objective assessment of process and accounts. The management can improve their operational and financial performance using the service of an internal audit. Let us now discuss the goals of internal audit. Goals of internal audit. Purpose of an ISO internal audit is to assess an organization efficiency as measured by the level of its quality and risk management systems and its overall business practices against one or more ISO standards. Companies and organizations conduct internal audit to evaluate and improve the efficiency of their business practices, capabilities by highlighting any existing flaws or shortcomings and ensuring plans are in place to properly address them. While conducting regular and effective internal audit of your management system is a requirement of the standards. It's also a requirement for a reasons. Internal audit are a chance for your organization to truly see the progress you are making and a chance for your employees to show of their skills and voice any concerns. Some of the major ways an organization can benefit for an internal audit. First one is to review and evaluate the reliability and soundness of its internal control system. Second one is to ascertain the degree of compliance with established standards, policies, and procedures. Third one is to minimize losses and maximize profit of the organizations. To ascertain whether the information generated in an organization is accurate and reliable. To ascertain the level of integrity of data provided to management, to provide informed advice and feedback to management on next step and growth opportunities. And last one is to seek opportunity for improvement in the existing systems. Internal audit is based on several guidelines that are dependent on the organization's specific visions and strategy. To be beneficial, it should provide appropriate and unbiased information that the organization can utilize in the enhancement of its performance. This means that audit should be undertaken while keeping in mind the specific requirement and criteria of the organization and the environment within which it operates. While you might be tempted to download and follow a checklist, don't use these as one stop shop for perfect internal audit. Utilize them as a guidance and tailor them for your specific needs. As we have now understand the goal of internal audit, let us discuss the principle of internal audits. Principle of internal audit has 7 principles. Following are the some of basic principle of auditing that should be universally applicable regardless of the size, scope, or industry. First one is objectivity. Second one is ethics. Third one is confidentiality. Fourth one is competence. Fifth one is planning. Sixth one is documentation. And last, the seventh one is integrity. Now, First one is objectivity. An internal audit should be an objective activity. All internal auditor must maintain objectivity in their judgment. Consider if you are auditing your peers to not hold previous judgment or past experience against an individual or team. Audit within your scope. Do not audit with an objective of proving a point. Audit with the objective goals of bettering the organization and providing a value added practice to the organization. Second one is ethics. Like all the business practices, internal audit should also be done within the confines of morals and ethical code. Third one is confidentiality. Auditor have access to sensitive information about the organization and its employees. It is very important to ensure the highest level of confidentiality to avoid possible misuse of such information. Competence. Auditing is a complex procedure. It must be done by skilled, experienced, and competent auditors. When selecting an audit team, consider their questions that will give them the information they need without causing stress for the auditee. Consider offering employees ISO trainings to help reduce stress and increase engagement. Planning. The audit process should be thoroughly planned to avoid confusion at later stages. Once an audit plan is in place and dictated to the auditees, do not stray from the scope of audit. This will avoid issues with the time and employee engagement. Documentation. It is important to maintain proper documentation of audit process. Internal audit conclude with a closing meeting where findings are shown to management and you must provide a detailed report prompting after the audit is completed. By ensuring you are documenting your findings effectively, you will have more success in your closing meeting and when you create your report. And your audit report must have adequate content of the organization audit internal audit. Integrity. The audit report must accurately depict the facts discovered during the audit process. The integrity of audit finding is essentially. Now let us understand how the auditor are selected for internal audit. Internal auditors should be carefully selected. An internal audit team must be adequately staffed in terms of both numbers and experience. They should also be properly trained to ensure that the needs of each audit task are fulfilled. The success of internal audit largely depends on the quality of audit team that is determined by the level of their training and expertise. You should have an up-to-date audit schedule and a well-defined audit plan for each process. Be sure to communicate the audit schedule to all parties involved as well as top management as this will help reinforce your mandate. Gather together all the relevant documented information that relates to the process you will be auditing. Look at practice metrics, work instruction, turtle diagram, process maps, and flowchart, etc. If applicable, collect and review any control plans and failure mode effects analysis worksheet to review these accordingly and highlight the aspect that you plan to audit. Using the documented information in this way, ensure they become audit records. Your organization documented information may not cover all the requirements that may be relevant to the process. If certain information is not available, it may become your first audit findings. Not bad for the pre-audit review. Certain information and linkage should be audited. Some are required and some are simply good audit practice. Putting these sections into a worksheet format, giving auditors a guide to follow to ensure the relevant links are audited. Now, now preparing for the internal audit. Before the audit prepared thoroughly, spending time in preparation will make you much more effective during the audit. You will become a better auditor. Auditors should not skip this step as it provides much needed value to the audit. Taking the time to prepare and organize actually save time during the audit. Now we discuss the type of ISO internal audit. Types of ISO internal audit. Internal audit are commonly referred to as first-party audit and are conducted by an organization to determine compliance to a set of requirements which might arise from standard likely standard like ISO 9001 as well as customer or regulatory requirements. There are three common methods of internal auditing that may be used to determine compliance. First one is system audits. Second one is process audits. Third one is product audits. Now, first one is system audit. The system audit are best undertaken using the internal audit checklist. This type of audit focus on organization quality management system as a whole and compares the planning activities and broad system requirement to ensure that each clause or requirement has been implemented. Second one is process audit. The process audit is an in-depth analysis which verifies that the process comprising the management systems are performing and producing in accordance with the desired outcomes. The process audit also identifies an opportunities for improvement and possible corrective actions. Process audits are used to concentrate or any special, vulnerable, new, and highly risk process. Product audit. The product audit may be a series of, the product audit may be a series of audits at stages of design, production, and delivery to verify conformity to any specified product requirements, such as dimensions, functionality, packaging, and labeling at a defined frequency. So, how is an internal audit conducted? So basically performing an internal audit involves the use of few tools which are listed below. First one is use of internal audit checklist. Second one is use of internal audit procedure. Third one is the gap analysis. Use of internal audit checklist. The internal audit checklist is just one of the many tools which are available for the auditor toolbox that helps to ensure each internal audit addresses the necessary requirements. It understands as a reference point before, during, and after the audit process, and if developed for a specific audit and used correctively, will provide the following benefits. First one is checklist can be used as reference for planning future audits. Second one is checklist can be provided to the auditee prior to the audit. Third one is checklist can provide a means of communication. Fourth one is a completed checklist provides evidence the audit was performed. Fifth one is ensures the audit is conducted systematically and consistently. Sixth one is ensure a consistent audit approach. Seventh one is actively support the organization audit process. Eighth one is provides a repository for notes collected during the audit process. Ninth one is ensure uniformity in the performance of different auditors. Tenth one is provides reference to the objective evidence. 11th one is audit checklist provides assistance to the audit process. Now, internal audit procedure. We recommend you document an internal audit procedure that addresses two aspects: performance evaluation and improvement. It was greatly help you within the process of auditing and internal audit management. A gap analysis, the unique knowledge obtained about the status you existing quality management system will be a key driver of the subsequent implementation approach. Armed with this knowledge, it allows you to establish accurate budgets, timelines, and expectations which are proportional to the state of your current management system when directly compared to the requirement of the standard. The result of a gap analysis exercise will help to determine the differences or gaps between your existing management system and the new requirement. Not only will the analysis template help you to identify gaps, it will also allow you to recommend how those gaps should be filled. Now, preparing the audit report. A good summary report is the output which is the value of the audit. It deserves an appropriate amount of attention and effort. As you move through the audit, you should have noted the issue and improvement you saw. These should have been marked clearly so you are now able to quickly review and capture them as you as you write the report. These findings and conclusions should be formally documented as part of summary report. Too often, the audit report only recites back facts and data the managers already know. The value is in identifying issue and opportunities they do not know. The summary should be reviewed first with the lead auditor, then the process owner and management team. Make final revision and file the audit report and all supporting audit materials and notes. Gather the whole audit package together in an organized manner. The rest of the work instruction flow chart, notes, and relevant papers should be gathered into the audit package. As supporting records, all findings should also be documented on your corrective action forms. The audit summary and the corrective action forms should be attached to the audit package, which now become the audit record. Only the summary report and corrective action need to be given to the process owner. Now, now I have come to end of the discussion. I now invite a question for the participant if there are any questions.
My question is to Mr. Anil,
Okay,
that
ask.
internal audit is required to be done in once in a year, but it can be conducted anytime.
Sir, can you please ask again question?
Sir, internal audit is mandatory to conduct in a year or it can be conducted at any time.
Sir, it's previously discussed in the procedures. Every organization discussed in their procedure that they will conduct the internal audit in 6 months, in 3 months, in annually. They previously determined that what are their frequency. It's not fixed that they have to conduct annually uh, or quarterly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, one question is, how can I become internal auditor?
Okay. To become an internal auditor, you have to require bachelor degree and industrial experience 2 or more years, and have to complete 16 hours internal auditor training course from any of accredited organization like Exemplar Global and IRCA.
Sir, what is the important aspect of the internal auditor and how can implement for good results in organization?
I guess the participant is not audible. If anyone has, I have a question, I will ask that. If someone has another question or they have the similar question which I am asking, it might be a possibility that their question gets answered. Anil sir, I wanted to ask that, who can conduct the internal audit in an organization?
Organization employee can conduct internal audit in organization like manufacturing department managers can conduct internal audit for quality department, admin department managers can conduct internal audit for HR department, and some of organization external agencies conduct their internal audit.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. More questions?
Does anyone else has any questions?
I think there's no questions. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the same way. As there are no other questions to be asked from the participants, I now conclude this session by thanking Mr. Anil Yadav for his valuable time and effort he has given to conduct this particular webinar today. It was a very intense and detailed session which we had today on the topic how to conduct an internal audit within an organization. I hope that all the participants has been benefited by the insights and views and the knowledge which has been shared by Mr. Anil Yadav about internal audit and how it should be conducted within an organization. I guess all the verticals and aspects of the topic internal audit has been discussed and shared in this particular webinar. I thank Mr. Anil Yadav again for giving his valuable time to us out of his busy schedule and being a part of this particular webinar to deliver his expertise and knowledge with our participants who were an integral part of this webinar. I thank all of the participants as well who were invited in this particular webinar for giving their valuable time. I hope to see you all again, and I hope to see Mr. Anil again with the exciting new session. Thank you so much for making this particular webinar successful one. See you again. Thanking you from TNV Academy side. Thank you so much. I request all the participants to leave the meeting now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Apurva and participants, for giving me this opportunity.